Okay, this is the 2023 paper 1 question 12, right? This is an application question for your quadratic equations. So they tell you a ball head is thrown vertically upwards, right? From above a ground at time t seconds after being thrown, the height is given to be this formula. State the height above ground which the ball is thrown. This basically just means when my time equals to 0. Right, at the ground, when I'm throwing the ball, what is my height? Right, that happens when time equals to 0. And when time equals to 0, my h will just be equals to 1.75 plus 0 plus, minus 0. So in the end, I'm just throwing it at 1.75 meters above ground. Okay, so that's for part A. Part B, they tell you express h in terms of this. Right, this basically requires you to do completing the square. Right, so let's rearrange our h formula. Right, h is given to be 1.75 plus 5t minus 5t squared. Okay, I'm going to rearrange everything. Right, I'm going to make the t squared to be at the front. And my 1.75 to be at the back. Afterwards, I'm going to factorize out negative half, because remember, negative 5, because remember, for your completing the square, your coefficient of your x squared term needs to be 1. So in this case, I factorize out negative 5, I'm left with t squared minus t, right? Or in this case, that's minus 1t, which is the same as minus t, right? And I factorize out 5 from 1.75, I will get it to be 0.35. Okay, so you can just double check, take 5 multiplied by this, you'll get this value still. If yes, means you're correct. Okay, afterwards, we're going to do our completing the square, in which we will add our 1 over 2 square. 1 comes from, negative 1 over 2 square. Negative 1 comes from the coefficient of your x term. And we're going to also subtract this so that we compensate for it. Okay, afterwards, when we complete the square, this thing factorizes to give us t minus half squared. This thing simplifies, right, and you will get it to be minus 0.6, close bracket. Okay, this whole equation would then simplify to just give you negative 5 t minus half square, right? Negative 5 times negative 0.6 gives us positive 3, right? Rearrange it, we get it to be 3 minus 5 t minus half square. Okay, where your a is equals to 3, your b is equals to negative 5, and our c is equals to negative half. Okay, so that's how you complete the square. And then for part C, they tell you, hence state the maximum height which can be attained by the ball and the time in which this occurs. Right, from what you learned in E-math, you should have known that for my maximum height, my t minus half term has to be equals to 0, because this is a negative value. Right, so for the maximum height, this has to be equals to 0, in which it indicates that t minus half is equals to 0. Maximum height occurs when time equals to half seconds. And this maximum height is when it is at 3 meters. So these are your answers for part C. Okay, let me just double check if it's seconds. Yep, it is seconds. Okay, and then we move on to part D. They tell you that the ball hits the ground. Explain why the time for the ball to hit the ground is not twice the time found in part C, right? Because we know that actually the boy threw the ball when he was 1.7 meters above the ground level. Right, so when he throws the ball upwards, vertically upwards, it will take a longer time for it to reach the ground. Right, so therefore what we can explain to them is saying that the ball was thrown 1.75 meters above the ground. Therefore, the time would not be twice. Its max height as a longer time is required to travel the remaining 1.75 meters. Okay, so that is how you do for part D. And lastly, for part E, right, they tell you find the length of time for which the ball is at least 2 meters above the ground. This basically just means that when the ball is being thrown off the ground, right, this is 1.75, this is the ground level, right, there is a point in time where the height of the ball is actually 2 meters with respect to the ground, right, because the ball will travel upwards, then eventually it will drop back down, right. Within this time span of traveling from upwards all the way to here is when the ball is at least 2 meters above the ground, right. And how do we solve for the time? Well, all we need to do is sub h to be equals to 2, right. And from our earlier expression, we have our time and our height to be related as so. So all we're going to do is just write 2 equals to, right, so from our earlier equation, 3 minus 5 t minus half squared. And all I'm going to do is solve for my time, right. So I'm just going to move my terms around. I'm going to move this whole term to the left. I'm going to get it by 5t minus half squared. 3, I'm going to move the 2 to the right. So I'm going to subtract by 2. Simplify this. We get this to be equals to 1 over 5. And take note, there are going to be 2 times in which this happens, right? One when the ball is traveling upwards, and one when the ball is traveling downwards, right? So when we square root it, we will have our plus minus. Right, and when we solve for this, we just get it to be time equals to root 1 over 5 plus half, or time equals to, negative root 1 over 5 plus half. So let's press this in your calculator. .947 seconds. And the other one, 0.0528 seconds. Right, both we leave it to be in 3SF. Okay, sorry, that's not the final answer because they're asking for the length of time, right? Meaning to say the actual duration of which. Right, so actually it's better to leave it in more decimal places here and more decimal places here. So let me leave this to be 786, and this one from earlier 721. Right, so the entire duration would be taking this time subtracted by the earlier time. So length of time 0.94721 minus 0.052786. Right, let's press this in your calculator. And then we round off our answer. 0.894 seconds. And this is in 3SF. and this is the length of duration for which the ball is above 2 meters. Yeah. Okay, so this is how you do the question 12 of the 2023 paper 1.